All right. Thanks again to all of you for your patience. Since we lost a bit of time here at the beginning, I propose that we start with the training in order so we also finish on time. Welcome back to the third session, where we will be covering the third module on digital transition and blended work methods. Just as a reminder, my name is Dea. I'm working as a project officer at All Digital, and I will guide you through this training. The module 3 is focused on embracing lifelong learning and how to keep up with the pace of technology. So we will be covering different topics linked with the lifelong learning, with a continuous professional development, and we will also be covering a bit more about digital citizenship and digital exclusion, although these are already the topics that we covered a bit in the previous module as well. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, concerns while we are going through the content, feel free to also add your comments in the chat or use the Padlets that we have for this training. You have the link here. You will also have the link in the chat, and you can see the QR code as well. It is the same Padlet that we have been using for the module 1 and module 3. And like I said in the previous training, the whole idea is that we have this live resource that you can also later use as you see fit and as you see it's good and beneficial for you. Just a quick recap of what we have done on Monday. We covered the topic, we started with the topic of digital skills. We talked about basic and advanced digital skills and how this is also related to the digital literacy. Then we looked more in detail in the topic of digital inclusion, exclusion, and digital divide, what it means, how it can be avoided, and what we can do as NGOs and civil society organizations, but overall as educators and trainers. Important point that I told you also on Monday, and one of the things that I want you to take with this training is that the way how we look at digital inclusion has to also evolve with the way how the technologies are evolving and changing. And then an important reminder is that even though many things have been done to address digital divide, it still remains ever present, and it is still here, and it's really something that is tangible. Like I said at the beginning, the whole module 3 is focused on embracing lifelong learning and how to keep up with the pace of technology. We can, I think it also goes a bit without saying that in the digital era and all the technological advancements that are around us, it also shows the importance of keeping up with the pace of technology and the significance of embracing lifelong learning for digital skills. We can see that technologies are evolving, new technologies are emerging. We were talking also about this in the last module when we covered the topic of AI and the use of AI specifically in education. The ability to adapt and the ability to acquire digital competences is something that is crucial. Overall, we can look at the lifelong learning as something that is empowering individuals to thrive overall in the world, but especially also in the digitally driven world and digitally driven environment. And by fostering a mindset of continuous growth and continuous exploration, we're not only enhancing our professional prospects, but we're also contributing to a more resilient and more innovative society overall. All of this sounds like a lot of big words and a lot of big terms there, but if you think about it, it is actually what is happening in practice. Also, again, something that we talked about in the second module, the way how the technologies are evolving and the way how we are using digital tools, especially in the educational sector. It is introducing innovative ways to enhance learning and teaching, but also it is changing rapidly the way how overall learning environments are created, are thought of, and are structured. So overall, keeping up with emerging trends is something that is essential for trainers, for educators, for facilitators to actively prepare and to be adapted for the future and for the future challenges. Here we're also talking about the importance of the continuous professional development. I think this is the group that we're having today is not really the group where we need to explain the importance of continuous professional development. I mean, you all chose to be here and to spend your lunch break with me, so it's also a good indicator of, working on overall continuous professional development. But it is a good reminder that this is something that is continuous, that the learning is not stopping when we either turn 18, we finish high school, we graduate from uni, but it actually continues through our work life and through overall life. This is relevant for any context, but especially when we think about digital skills and technologies and the use of it in learning in education. So overall, staying informed about technological advancements and trends is vital to participate effectively in society overall. This links also very well with digital inclusion and with the points that we talked about on Monday. So ensuring that individuals from different backgrounds have the opportunity to access and to utilize digital resources. And overall, for educators, for trainers, for facilitators, understanding these advancements is allowing them to incorporate relevant digital tools into their teaching and learning activities. So overall, knowing which technologies to use, knowing how to use specific technologies, knowing which tools are the best to use is promoting greater access to services and information. It is facilitating more informed decision making and engagement with digital platforms. Here we can also be looking at the different governmental services, banking services, but also different online different platforms that promote online education and online learning. This is something that is also really crucial for bridging the digital divide and ensuring that all segments of society, regardless of age, regardless of location and socioeconomic status, can benefit from digital economy. So overall, knowing which tools to use and how to use them is something that is really important in today's society. Another important point that we also covered in the second module when we talked about digital literacy and the way how digital literacy is linked with basic digital skills and with overall promotion of digital skills. The overall promotion and support of digital literacy is a fundamental role of educators, trainers, and facilitators. And success stories of digital transformation within the educational sector can use as an inspiring example of the positive impact that this specific technology can have on teaching and learning. Here, as a reminder, whenever we talk about the benefits of digital tools, whenever we talk about the benefits that are linked with the digital transformation, it is also important to be mindful of the challenges that come with them. So another point that I would like you to take from the training is that for every benefit that we have, we also have the corresponding challenge. So it is important to be mindful of. On Monday, we talked about the European framework that is describing the digital competence. So the DigComp framework, we covered all of the 5 areas that DigComp is based on. We also talked about the use cases, scenarios, and examples. Today, I want you to look more into DigComp Edu, which is the specific framework that has been developed for educators and for navigating lifelong learning. It was inspired by DigComp, so it started with the DigComp as a starting phase. It started with the first version of DigComp, actually, and it was created in 2017. It is structured around 6 key areas that outline the digital competencies that educators need to foster digital age learning. And here on this image, you can see those 6 areas. So we are starting with the professional engagement, looking into the digital resources, teaching and learning, assessment, empowering learners, and facilitating learners' digital competence. We're not going to go in detail on in each of these areas, in each of these competencies today. But if you're interested, you will also find a link to the DigComp Edu on the Padlet that we shared before, and in the overall iBox self-paced training that is available on All Digital Academy. You can also dive more in depth into the content as well. An interesting tool that is very useful when we talk about different competence frameworks. So here I'm not talking only about the DigComp framework, but also looking into the EntraComp and the GreenComp framework. The JRC and European Training Foundation created a scaffold tool, which is a card game that wants to revolutionize teaching. So the idea is that these cards support educators in designing learning activities and guide them step by step from planning to assessment according to different European competence frameworks. So to make them more concrete and perhaps easier to understand, they created a set of 102 different cards. I will show them to you in a second that can be used in formal and in non-formal learning context, and they can also show how multiple learning outcomes can be integrated when we're designing different learning activities. They are also linked with the transversal competences that are common across all competence frameworks. And this can help educators in identifying and clustering learning outcomes according to different teaching objectives, according to available resources, and learning spaces. Here you can actually see those cards in practice. You can very easily access them through the link that is going to be shared in the chat, and that is also on the Padlet as well. So you can freely download the cards and use them in your learning activities. Like I said, these cards make it very they show very concretely how you can put different competence frameworks in practice. So apart from just going through 200 pages of a document, this it makes it really concrete, and it makes it something that is then easy to understand and easy to share the word about it. To give you some background on what digital skills assessment is, when we talk about digital skills assessment, we're talking about a process or a specific tool that is used to evaluate somebody's proficiency in various digital competences. So these tools are designed to measure a person's ability to use digital tools, to use software, and to use digital technologies effectively. They're also something that is very important in professional and personal development because through the use of different digital assessment tools, you can support yourself in identifying the strengths, identifying areas of improvement, and also perhaps gain a bit more information and knowledge about the specific skills that are needed to succeed in digital world. If you think about, for example, Europass tool, there is also a specific section about digital skills there as well. If you also look into LinkedIn, you can also be adding different digital skills there as well to update your profile. So it is good to know on what level your digital skills are. It is also good to know which areas of improvement are there and how you can support your digital skills growth and overall strengthening digital skills. One more point that is really important here, and that is important to remember, is that self-assessment of digital skills is something that is proactive and it's an ongoing process. So it doesn't mean that if you go through one digital skills assessment tool once, let's say today, that your digital skills will stay the same, for example, in a year. It is also important to answer the questions that are there truly and to be honest. think we often think of ourselves as tech savvy, or as, we know everything when it comes to the use of digital tools. I'm also talking from personal experience. It is great to identify the areas where we might need some improvement. For example, the point that we were talking about on Monday about the use of passwords. If we use a password that is really easy to remember, like, I don't know, DA123, that password is also very easy for somebody else to guess. So if it's too easy to remember, it's also too easy to guess it. So that's something to also keep in mind when you're choosing the password. Another example that comes to my mind when we're looking into continuous digital skills assessment is looking into the overall use of AI. So looking a few months ago, when AI generated content started booming on TikTok and LinkedIn, I saw this beautiful villa in Portugal. The price was really affordable, and overall everything looked a bit too good to be true. But I shared it with my friends, and I was even telling them that maybe this is something that we should start thinking about, except apart from just buying an apartment that is perhaps small and super expensive. And then I realized that that content was AI generated. So even knowing that there is a lot of AI generated content out there, it is very easy not to spot it right away. This example is not something that is harmful. It didn't really impact anybody's life decision or anybody's life, but on banal examples, on minor examples like that, we can also see how tricky and how difficult it is becoming to identify AI generated content, but also fake news, and how easy it is to spread disinformation. So um, overall, being aware of our digital skills, working on the development of our digital skills, continuously improving our skills, continuously improving the skills, and continuously supporting the development of skills of those that are around us is crucial in tackling many challenges that we are dealing with, and many challenges that will come in the next years. One of the tools that we would like to suggest for you to explore is called My DigiSkills, which helps you to better understand and to self-reflect on the level of digital skills based on the knowledge, skills, and attitudes in each of the 5 areas of DigCom. So all of the 5 areas that we covered in the previous module, they're all used in this assessment tool. The tool has been created by All Digital, and it was together with some supporting partners. And once you complete the set of questions that are there, the system will give you feedback on your level of digital skills according to the 5 competence areas that we mentioned before. Again, important point to remember, and important point to keep in mind is that you should answer these questions honestly and as fully as possible to give you the most accurate estimate of your digital skills and digital capabilities. Here you can see you can see how it looks like once you actually go through all of the questions, and you can see which areas you score, well, not necessarily you score better, but which areas you are stronger in, where you could improve a bit, and it also shows you where you can look for specific training linked with specific digital skills. So I didn't tell you before about the number of questions, but overall there are 82 questions that require you to answer with simple questions. So although the tool is very comprehensive and the list of questions is long, it doesn't necessarily take too much of your time. But again, it is good to be aware of the level of your skills. Some of the questions are focused specifically about specifically on skills. Some of them are more linked to specific knowledge, and some are linked to the attitude that you might be having to the digital technologies. Again, another reminder, choose the option that best describes you for each of the questions. And remember to just be honest while you're doing while you're taking different self-assessment tools. Another interesting tool to look at is called Skillify, which has been developed by the Digital Collective. And it focuses again on the same 5 areas that are in DigCom. So information and data literacy, communication and collaboration, digital content creation, safety, and problem solving. Both of the tools that I'm showing you today are rather similar, and there are actually a lot of different tools out there. We just wanted to highlight 2 of them. So it is really up to you to decide which one to use, but please use one of them. So there are many tools available, but it is important again to take a look at where you stand and where to identify the areas of improvement. Similarly to the My Digi Skills, at the end of the assessment, you will receive a report with an overview of your skills and suggestions on how to improve them. Another interesting point, an important point to say about Skillify is that while Digital Collective was developing the tool, they focused a lot on making it accessible to different types of learners and they really incorporated inclusive design in it as well. So in the previous module, we covered the topics of digital inclusion, exclusion, and digital divide. And now I propose that we shift our focus a bit on the importance of lifelong learning in facilitating digital inclusion. So digital inclusion is something that goes beyond beyond just having the access to the devices and to internet. And like we said on Monday, and I think this was also something that was covered in the first module, without support for equity and inclusion, digital technology can also be another barrier if factors such as digital inequalities and inclusive design are not addressed. So by engaging in lifelong learning, by engaging in continuous professional development, individuals, all of us, can enhance our digital literacy, which, as a reminder, refers to the ability to use digital technologies confidently and competently. This also includes understanding of how to navigate internet safely, so how to be safe online, how to use different tools in a way that makes it productive for us and in a way that is safe, and how to also critically evaluate the information that we can find online. And overall, digital literacy is it's a valuable skill in the digital age as it empowers individuals to participate fully in the digital world. Then again, also looking to the lifelong learning and the importance of it, it allows individuals to adapt to the evolving digital landscape. So the different digital technologies are constantly changing and evolving and improving. And by engaging in continuous learning, we can stay up to date with the latest advancements. This is not only important for the support and for the enhancement of digital skills, but it is also offering new opportunities for personal and for professional growth. When we talk about lifelong learning, especially in the context of anything linked with digital, we're also looking into different online learning platforms, and and e-learning systems overall. So there are different tools that can support. These are different tools that can support digital inclusion. So apart from the online learning platforms, here we can also be looking into assistive technologies, into open educational resources, MOOCs, robotics, AI, but also everyday gadgets like computers, phones, and internet. Online learning platforms are offering various benefits, starting from flexibility and so flexibility in scheduling, but also flexibility in overall reaching a wider number of learners and participants, but also offering a wide range of course options. For example, looking into Coursera or looking into LinkedIn Learning and Khan Academy, or many other similar online learning platforms that are out there. One during one of the projects that I told you about on Monday, the project that is called Digital for All, the one that is using universal design for learning in supporting more inclusive higher education. While we were doing the focus groups and while we were conducting the first research phase, we were talking a lot about online learning platforms and the way how they're supporting different learners and different students. And one interesting example and one interesting experience that was shared is that especially when we look into the context of higher education and continuous education, some of the students that were so there are many students that are working in parallel while studying. So the fact that the courses are available online makes it also easier for them to make their schedule more to basically to adapt their learning schedule to their work schedule and overall make sure that they can succeed in both areas. It also gives the flexibility to learners to sort of own their learning process and to have more power in scheduling and in dividing their overall schedule. And also in finding different courses that perhaps are not available on the local level. One more important concept and important point, and I think it's one of the last definitions that we will be covering in this training, is digital citizenship. So, looking into the definition that the Council of Europe is offering, they define digital citizenship as the capacity to participate actively, continuously, and responsibly in communities, looking both in the local, in the national, and global context, but also online and offline, and at all of different levels. So, looking at political level, economic level, social, cultural, and intercultural. Overall, digital citizenship competences are defining the way how we act and how we interact online. So these competences encompass the different values, different attitudes, skills, and knowledge and critical understanding that is necessary to responsibly navigate online environments and also to shape the technology to meet again to make sure that the technology is useful for us so that the technology meets our needs rather than our needs being shaped by the technology. It is important that we have this sense of responsibility and that we keep in mind this ethical dimension of interacting online and cultivating safer and more inclusive digital environments and digital community. So with that, one of the crucial aspects of digital citizenship is understanding online etiquette and behavior. Here we are looking into using mindful language, so also being mindful of the language that we are using and the tone that we are using in online communication. Sometimes Um, the way how we perceive not sometimes, actually always, the way how we perceive the messages that are out there really depends on the tone and the language that is used, as well as respecting other people's privacy and boundaries. And for example, looking into the hate speech, which is also a topic that we were discussing before. So any type of harmful speech online is um, is something that also falls under this category of online etiquette and behavior. So being mindful of hate speech, being mindful of how widespread it is and how important it is to tackle this as an issue. Even though in the last years, especially again looking into 2020 and looking into the COVID pandemic and the shift to online learning, um, we um, we can think that we became much more aware and much more used to interacting in online environments. Hate speech is something that is ever present, and it is something that we have to keep in mind and have to work on in trying to diminish it overall. Another important point when it comes to the digital citizenship is how to safeguard our digital identity and personal information. Here we're talking about, again, the use of passwords and overall being cautious about sharing sensitive information online and taking steps to secure our accounts and devices. I um, I know that it might be annoying and it might be seen as an unnecessary extra step to use, for example, the two factor identification, but it is something that is super important to protect ourselves online. Same goes with the use of strong passwords, with keeping the passwords safely somewhere stored, not sharing them with the broader audience, and to be also aware of different scams and phishing attempts. When we also look into the sharing of information, another interesting phenomenon here, which is not really part of the iBOX course, but something that we should be mindful of, is the concept of sharenting. So the parents that are sharing a lot of photos of their children online, which then is it ethical to share the photos of your children online if you cannot really ask your children for consent, or if they are not really aware of where those photos are stored? Even if you keep it in a small circle, something it's another important reminder, and another good thing that is good to keep in mind is that whatever is put on internet, it stays there in one way or another. And again, when it comes to the sharing sensitive information online, another example that I like to give here is that back when I was still in primary school, back when Facebook was booming, we all decided to open a Facebook account, and we were all putting a lot of photos online. And to make sure that we understand what that means, and to make sure to actually show us how easy it is to access those photos online, our teacher went to each of our profile, and she showed us all of the photos that she could find, which felt like really big invasion of our privacy, but at the same time we were the ones putting those photos online, so we were the ones that were actually harming ourselves and harming our privacy on. So overall, let's just be mindful of whatever we share, we are okay with sharing. Um, the third important point that I would like to highlight here is understanding of the copyright and understanding of the intellectual property rights as an essential component of digital citizenship. So when we are using online resources, we should be mindful of the copyright, and we should respect them. And of course, give the credit where the credit has to be given. So whenever we are using somebody else's work, we have to give the credit to the original creators. Also, by citing, by using and citing resources appropriately and seeking permission when needed, we're all working on upholding ethical standards. Learning how to navigate these issues, learning how to make sure that the resources that you're using are either free to use or that you're respecting intellectual property and copyrights is something that is making all of us a more responsible digital citizens. And actually, you would be surprised how often, even in the context of EU-funded projects in digital education, we can come across different resources that are using images that are simply found by Google search and just, simply using somebody else's work without actually giving the credit. To give you a concrete example, when we were developing specific training in one of the projects, one of the partners that were responsible for the training development decided to use a map that was just found by simple Google search, and it was one image that was used. All of them were used. All of them were copyright free images, but even using so they didn't really consider this one as something that is problematic because it's just one among 20 of the others that were used. But even using one image that is not copyright free, even using one image that you're not crediting properly is problematic and it is harming somebody else. So let's be mindful of copyright, let's be mindful of intellectual property rights, and let's not support plagiarism as well. When it comes to the online hate speech, one additional example that I would like to give you, and one example of a project that is tackling online hate speech is called Emily. You can find the link on the Padlet as well. This project finished in 2023. So it actually started during well, the whole project was conceptualized even before COVID and before the whole shift to the online learning. And then while the partners were developing the content, they also put this dimension of the shift to the online learning and how that is perhaps even enhancing hate speech. So the aim of the project was to train teachers and representatives of school communities. Here we are looking into school managers, digital facilitators, but also parents on the specific methodology of how to address online hate speech in the classroom. And this specific methodology goes a step further in the direction of digital citizenship in line with the Digital Education Action Plan and the Digital Decade. We were also talking about Digital Education Action Plan before. And Emily also goes beyond basic digital skills and focuses on advanced digital and advanced media literacy skills for anybody who has any type of educational role. The project has three main results, and they're all available through the project website. So project partners developed a blended training course for teachers, which also includes around 40 different worksheets that are available once you register through the platform. They also created a virtual network of schools, which was initiated through different coaching circles with selected teachers, and they supported the organization of the Kind Speech Day campaigns, which were organized in different school context, in different with different age groups, where different learners were working on spreading kind messages and overall using kind speech. Based on the piloting of the blended training course and based on this virtual network of schools, We have also prepared some policy recommendations for policymakers and educational institutions. Even though this is something that was published already almost 2 years ago, it is still super relevant and it is still something that is worth checking out. Yesterday, when we were talking about digital inclusion, digital exclusion, and inclusive design, I also told you about Digital, which is a coalition of companies, social organizations, and governmental bodies that are working together for more digital inclusive Belgium. This ecosystem was set in 2020 at the initiative of BNP, at the initiative of the bank, and it has been growing ever since. In 2022, Digital launched the awareness raising campaign on digital exclusion, and this campaign draws attention to some of the basic human rights that are threatened by digital exclusion. For example, right to housing, right to education, right to work, and privacy. While the cases that are highlighted in the campaign um, are situated in the Belgian context, the examples are actually quite universal and can be transferable to different contexts. Digital is also the same coalition that has created the Digital Inclusion by Design index that we talked about on Monday. And to actually show you the campaign, we will watch two short videos. I will show them to you in a second. But before going into the videos, here is again the link to the Padlet and the QR code to access the Padlet, because you can find all the links to the videos there as well as the as few guiding questions that we would like you to pay attention to while watching the videos. So while watching the videos, think about what are the main barriers to digital inclusion that you can recognize in the videos. Think about also how do these, but also perhaps some other barriers are affecting different populations. For example, here we can look into marginalized communities, but not only. We can also just think about ourselves in the context as well. Um, and the second point would be to think about some strategies or some initiatives that you know that already promote digital literacy and digital skills developments, and how effective these could be in tackling digital exclusion. You can also find these questions on the Padlet. We will also show them later on. It's not an exam. You don't have to answer to all of these questions, but it is more to just have something to specifically pay attention while we're watching the videos. Let's start with the first video.
Ik ben 43 jaar eerst. Op zich gebruik ik mijn computer wel graag, maar dat is dan bijvoorbeeld gewoon om te schrijven. Maar vanaf dat technisch wordt, dan ga ik af. Door het feit dat ik die taal niet spreek, heb ik mij bij momenten echt wel uitgesloten gevoeld. Daar doe ik echt heel graag nodig. Ik heb in totaal 13 jaar ervaring in de callcenterwereld als call agent. Ja, het babbelen met mensen, problemen oplossen, ja, dat past bij mij. Maar door het feit dat daar zoveel technische aspecten komen bij kijken, ja, dat is. En zo dat. CV maken, ja, uiteindelijk is dat gelukt. Nu kan u CV online uploaden, maar ja, staat dan gewerkt. Computers.
And just to ask you before we go in the second video, you can also hear the sound, right? Somebody just nod if you can hear the sound of the videos as well. Okay, perfect. Then let's watch the second video as well.
Je m'appelle Estrada et je suis étudiante. j'avais pas de PC. euh, Ça expliquait sur avec l'école et je pense que chaque fois, tout ce qui est travaux, et que chaque fois, on essaie de trouver un peu ce que c'est et c'est pas toujours évident. Par exemple, des fois, pour TFE ou apprentissage, c'est pas évident, mais je me suis dit, pas le choix, il faut que je me débrouille et surtout, il faut que je remette mon rapport de stage. J'ai pris mon téléphone et j'ai tapé 80 pages sur mon téléphone. Déjà, tu pars avec des choses en moins par rapport aux autres. Et je me sentais un peu exclue, un peu différente.
So now, after watching these two videos, here are again the questions for reflection that I showed you before. You can add your thoughts and comments here in the chat. You can also do it on Padlet, but if somebody would like to share something, feel free to do so as well. We'll be very happy to hear from you. Somebody like to share what are the main barriers that you saw in the video, or perhaps what you thought about the barriers that were described? Were you aware of it? Were you aware that, for example, when it comes to the right for education, it is so easy to be excluded from it? Or if there's anything else you would like to share, feel free to also do so.
Hi.
Yes,
Yeah,
please, Aisha.
yeah. On the first video, I think it was more like a skills barrier, and on the second one, I think it was more about the economic status of the person. And I think that, yeah, sometimes I haven't like noticed or taken into account that some people don't have the economic like resources to access these like resources that for me are like taken like for granted. So I think it's interesting to have the awareness that not everyone can access and and yeah.
Thanks a lot for sharing, Aisha. Maybe one point that I would also add, when it comes to the case of Yusra, I mean, you can see in the video, she's quite young, and we often think of younger people as digital natives, and we think of them as they have all the tools, they know how to use the tools, they're super digitally included, but it is, in fact, not true. And it is good to be mindful of it as well. Nuria, please let us know.
Yeah, I was thinking that besides all the barriers these people has in both videos that are not the same context, but at the end they all have barriers. Uh, if if they keep having these barriers, I mean, if they don't have access to trainings like this, for example, or other kind of context, like educational context for them to learn how to develop their digital skills and competencies, they are gonna be lacking of them always, and the lack of resources in every context is also a big problem for them to improve. So if these couple of things don't get solved, they are always gonna have the same problem, which is not nice and quite sad, because in these days digital evolution is being super included in our lives, and all the technologies that we use every day, all of us. So it's quite important for everyone to change this topic and to make them arrive this kind of trainings and other educational context.
True. You also mentioned a lot of important points there. And like I also told you on Monday, the whole goal about even starting the discussion on digital inclusion and exclusion is also so that we all leave this training with a bit more awareness about it and with a bit more thoughts on how easy it is to exclude somebody or how easy it is for somebody to be excluded and how easy actually it is that all of us might be digitally excluded at some point. Like I told you also on Monday, it doesn't just because we are digital included right now doesn't mean we will always be. There are many other there are many risk factors for everybody, and basically anybody is at all times at the risk of eventually being digitally excluded. I'm also checking on the Padlet in the meantime, as there is a comment that elderly persons can be more affected by the technical and skills barriers. Yeah, Aisha, it goes also with what you were saying before. And again, I think that I was mentioning before, let's also not overlook the so-called digital natives, and let's not also just think that because somebody, because I mean, younger generations sort of have access to different digital tools since a very young age, and since basically they were born. It also doesn't mean that they know how to use the tools. It's not something that we are all naturally born with. It doesn't come just as granted. Is there somebody else who would like to share something? Or maybe if there's something in the chat. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. But yeah, maybe before we move on, I will give a few more minutes if somebody else would like to take the floor. Or if not, I will also take it as you will all write your answers on the Padlet and we can all have a prolonged discussion there as well. All right. Then I propose we move with the content, and then later on, if there is still some reflection you would like to share, we will have some time for it as well. So this was actually the last point of the last content of the training itself. So we will cover now some key takeaways, but then we have another activity that we would like to do with you. So overall, staying informed about technological advancements and trends is vital for participating effectively in today's digital world. We covered this extensively through all 3 days of the training, actually. Then looking to digital skills assessment, which is a process or a tool that is used to evaluate individuals' proficiency in various competencies. It is important to be aware of the status of our digital skills, to be aware of where are the areas of improvement, and to also please be honest when you're answering any type of self-assessment tools. And overall, as a conclusion, supporting and empowering digital inclusion through lifelong learning is key to ensure that everyone can fully participate in the digital age. With that, the last point that we would like to share is about the self-paced training. So although we covered extensively different topics in the last, so on Monday and last Wednesday and today, there is also more content, and we go more in depth into self-paced training. So you can scan the code. You can also join the All Digital Academy platform, and you can also go through the concepts at your own pace. Another important thing is that so essentially the content that we covered in the synchronized training is similar to the one that is online, but like I said, online you can find some additional resources and you can also find something that might be useful for you later. And really the last thing that I would like to share is we would really like to hear it from you. You will find the link to the form also in the chat, and or you can scan the QR code here again. Since the the whole point of iBooks and the whole point of this training was to have something that is useful for the target group, that is useful for the participants. We would like to hear from you what your experience was. This will help us to improve also for the future trainings that we might be organizing and overall enhance the success of the project. And one more reminder before we close. On the 19th of November, we will also be having an in-person event in Brussels, where we will be looking into the inclusiveness of education and training systems and how we can make them, what we can do and how we can make them more inclusive. We will be talking about all of the 3 different topics that are covered in iBox, so access and participation, inclusion and diversity, and also digital inclusion, but we will also go broader than that. So if you are in Brussels on the 19th of November, we would be very happy to have you there and to see you, and I will also put the link about the event in the chat as well. Okay, you can have the link there as well. That's it from our side. Please fill in the form. Let us know your thoughts and let us know how we can improve the future trainings. Thank you again for your participation. Thank you for spending lunch with me again today and on Monday as well, and with my colleague last week. We hope it was useful for you. We hope you found out something new and something that you might include in your daily activities and daily practice. And maybe one more reminder, please assess your digital skills. It is good to be aware of